Big Bunny dies after United Airlines flight. United Airlines is facing more PR problems after this humongous rabbit died while traveling with the airline from England to the US. The 10-month-old, 3-foot-long Continental Giant Rabbit called Simon was expected to grow up to become the biggest bunny in the world. But owner Annette Edwards is now demanding compensation from United and the return of the rabbit's corpse to the UK for an autopsy. United insists Simon was alive and hopping when he was taken off the flight in Chicago on April 19th, and there was definitely no need to ask, "Hey, what's up, Doc?" An airline spokesman said the giant rabbit appeared healthy and showed no signs of distress upon landing. Simon went to sleep in a pet facility run by the airline, but 30 minutes later, an employee opened his cage and found the rabbit dead. The spokesman said the airline had offered to perform a necropsy on the rabbit, free of charge, but Edwards declined. Rabbit breeder Edwards said Simon was expected to grow to be the world's biggest bunny, after his father Darius grew to a length of 4 feet 4 inches. Edwards said Simon had a veterinary checkup just 3 hours before takeoff from London's Heathrow Airport and was as fit as a fiddle. United said they have offered compensation to Simon's buyer in the States. The airline said it was saddened to hear of the giant bunny's death and was investigating the incident. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. Keep watching for more sky-high drama. United Airlines drags passenger off flight. United Airlines is facing yet another PR disaster. That's after this footage of a bloodied passenger being forcibly removed from a flight went viral. The man was dragged from his seat as the plane sat on the tarmac in Chicago on Sunday, bound for Louisville, Kentucky. It all kicked off when United needed to get 4 staff members to Louisville, but then realized the flight was already full and no seats were available. Passengers who volunteered to give up their seats and take a later flight were offered $400 in compensation and a free hotel stay. But even when that offer was doubled to $800, there were still no takers. That's when United decided to choose the volunteers themselves, and 4 passengers were randomly bumped from the plane. One couple left the airplane without incident, but the man in the video refused. He said he was a doctor and needed to get back to Louisville to see his patients. United staff told the man that security would be called if he didn't get off the plane. Again, he refused, and that's when things got physical.
No, this is wrong. Oh my God, look at what you did to him. Oh my.
While this incident was undoubtedly brutal, United is within its legal rights to overbook flights and to remove passengers from their planes. They just have to pay compensation of up to $1,350, depending on the length of the delay. 10 minutes later, the passenger ran back on the plane looking confused. Eventually, all the passengers were made to deboard and go back to the gate while the plane was cleaned up. The plane eventually arrived in Louisville 2 hours late. In a statement, United Airlines apologized for what they described as an overbooking situation, but didn't say sorry to the passenger who was dragged from his seat. In an email to staff on Monday, United CEO Oscar Munoz said the man was disruptive and belligerent. The Chicago Department of Aviation says the security officer who dragged the passenger out of his seat has been put on leave, pending an investigation. And the United nightmare continues. There's more turbulence coming United's way, with the airline again making headlines this week for booting a couple off a flight. The Utah couple were en route to their wedding in Costa Rica. After boarding the plane, they discovered a man snoozing on their seats. Instead of waking him up, they decided to just park themselves on some empty seats nearby. A flight attendant came by asking if they were in the right seats, since they were sitting in Economy Plus, which was more expensive. The couple asked for an upgrade, but were denied and told to move back. Despite complying with the order, they claim a marshal later came and took them off the plane anyway. They were rebooked on Sunday morning, the day of their wedding. But United isn't sorry about what happened, and they claim that's not how things went down. According to the airline, the couple didn't pay for the upgraded seats, but repeatedly tried to sit there and wouldn't follow instructions to move back to their assigned row. The couple's motives for moving seats does seem shady, and it's possible they were capitalizing on United's recent mishaps, trying to score better seats for free. But despite not being entirely at fault for this one, it's really not in United's best interest to keep booting people off their planes, especially for something as little as a seat upgrade. But I guess old habits die hard. Really, we should just be thankful they didn't assault anyone this time. Things are going from bad to worse for United Airlines. A former United Airlines customer is claiming staff once threatened to handcuff him if he didn't give up his seat to make way for a higher priority traveler. High-flying businessman Jeff Ferns came forward with his story after the forcible removal of a passenger from a United plane on Sunday. Ferns paid $1,000 for a first-class ticket from Hawaii to LA last week, but was then told to get off the plane. The finance executive said United staff told him somebody more important had showed up at the last minute, and if he didn't budge, they'd remove him by force. Ferns was eventually downgraded to economy and placed between a married couple who refused to sit next to each other and argued for the entire 6-hour flight. Back at home, Ferns asked United for a full refund and a $25,000 donation to the charity of his choice. As the LA Times puts it, that's how rich guys do it. United turned down both requests and instead offered Ferns the difference between the first-class ticket and an economy ticket. The airline then got in touch a week later to offer a $500 credit for a future trip, but Ferns said he would never fly United again. This latest PR blow to the airline comes in the wake of the forcible removal of passenger Dr. David Dow from a Chicago to Louisville flight on Sunday. On Wednesday, United offered a full refund to everyone on that flight and said it would no longer get the cops to remove passengers from planes that were too full. What's more, Chicago's Department of Aviation said 2 more officers involved in the removal of Dow had now been placed on leave pending an investigation. 3 officers in total have now been placed on leave. Meanwhile, attorneys for Dow filed an emergency request with an Illinois state court to force United to preserve video and other evidence related to the removal of their client from the plane, which in all likelihood means the lawyers are preparing a huge-ass lawsuit for damages against United Airlines. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. More airline drama. American Airlines landed in the hot seat Friday after a flight attendant went full rage on a young mother, then got into a screaming match with another passenger. The woman boarded the Texas-bound flight with a stroller, which wasn't allowed in the cabin. A male flight attendant violently yanked the stroller away, hitting the woman's head and barely missing her twin babies. A video shot during the aftermath shows the woman at the front of the plane crying and asking another flight attendant to give her stroller back. As she's being consoled, a male passenger stands up and asks for the aggressive employee's name. The passenger tells the attendant off when he shows up moments later and is immediately warned to stay out of it. The man confronts the attendant, who repeatedly taunts him to try and deal a hit. The two nearly come to blows, but luckily somebody else intervenes.
Hey, bud. You do that to me and I'll knock you flat.
You stay out of this. Come on, Come on, bring it up.
Try that with me, I'll knock you out. Well, I'm not going to be silly. Yeah. Go with us where we're going.
Come on. You don't know what the story is.
I don't care what the story is. No one's heard a baby.
American Airlines has been very apologetic about the incident, suspending the flight attendant and upgrading the mother and her children to first class on another flight. Internet reactions to the people involved in the drama have been mixed, but the airline has emerged mostly unscathed due to effective damage control. Hope you're taking notes there, United. Woman is choked out by fellow passenger over a reclining seat. With shrinking domestic flight seats and almost non-existent legroom, one burning question could make or break a passenger freakout: to recline or not to recline. This guy, it seems, is firmly on the side of not, after having a mid-air meltdown over one recliner on his flight. The Southwest Airlines flight from LA to San Francisco was already running late when it left around 10 p.m. Sunday. Things turned ugly minutes after takeoff when a man in business attire started choking the woman sitting in front of him for tilting her seat back. While the woman panicked and screamed, the man remained calm throughout the whole episode. Very creepy. After crew members came to the woman's aid and helped restrain the man, the pilot turned the plane around and made an emergency landing at LAX. Police waiting at the tarmac detained the man for questioning. The remaining passengers switched planes and eventually arrived in San Francisco hours later. Needless to say, none of them were too thrilled. Good job pissing off 136 passengers, guy in glasses.